guys, and welcome to another Evercade Deep Dive Completion Review. This is where I need to complete a Evercade game from start to finish. It doesn't matter how many save states and it doesn't matter how many load states, just as long as I can complete the game before I do this review. And what game are we looking at today? Well, today we are looking at the Ultimate Stuntman, which is from the Codemaster Collection, Red Cart number 19. Action. So guys, he's not your average hero. He's a car racing, bomb defusing, cliff scaling, android destroying renegade who probably eats danger for breakfast and never skips leg day. We're talking about the Ultimate Stuntman. The unlicensed NES classic that punches subtlety in the face and high-fives explosions. This game throws everything at you: high-speed car chases, laser-packed shootouts, and yes, giant killer androids who thought they were safe until he showed up saying, "I don't run from trouble, I ride a motorcycle straight through it." From the moment you press start, it's full throttle chaos, like an 80s action movie crammed into a cartridge and dipped in raw pixel energy. The Ultimate Stuntman doesn't stop for logic, pacing, or physics. He just saves the day, one absurd level at a time. But beneath all of this mayhem, is the game a retro gem worth your time, or just an 8-bit fever dream fueled by too many cans of pixelated energy drink? Strap in, lock on, and don't forget your sunglasses, because we're going in guns blazing that will have you yelling, "He came, he saw, he side-scrolled." As always, we'll be looking at the story, sound, and gameplay, and a little later on, I'll be letting you guys know my Evercade stats on how long it took me to complete the Ultimate Stuntman. But before we do any of that, let's take a look at some interesting facts about this game and its developer and/or publisher. The Ultimate Stuntman was originally released in 1990 and developed by Codemasters, the cheeky rebels of the late 80s and early 90s game scene. But the spotlight today is on Camerica because of this fun fact. They were the publisher mavericks who teamed up with Codemasters to dodge Nintendo's strict licensing rules. Camerica said Nintendo's seal of approval, "Nah, we'll do it our way," and rolled out their custom cartridges to get the Ultimate Stuntman into players' hands. No official Nintendo stamp needed. So who the heck are Camerica? Imagine if a game publisher put on a leather jacket, revved up a motorbike and said Nintendo rules, never heard of them. That is pretty much Camerica in a nutshell. A bold Canada-based company that looked the NES in the eye and said, "We're going in uninvited." These weren't your average publishers. Camerica teamed up with Codemasters to bring a whole bunch of unlicensed games to North America in the late 80s and early 90s. And they didn't just sneak them in, they strutted in gold and silver cartridges gleaming like treasure stolen from Nintendo's vault. Their cards had attitude, their marketing had edge, and their games wild, weird, and packed with ultimate personality. Some of their cartridges even had physical switches on them so that they could work on multiple NES consoles, like a built-in cheat code for compatibility. Camerica was basically the MacGyver of retro game publishing. Need to bypass Nintendo's lockout chip? Flick the switch and boom, you're playing the Ultimate Stuntman. That's right, forget the pixelated hero on screen. The true Stuntman here is the cartridge itself. This little guy pulled off one of the craziest stunts in NES history. It snuck past Nintendo's security like a pro. So back in the day, Nintendo wasn't just about fun games. They had a strict lockout system called 10NES to keep unlicensed games out of the NES. Think of it like a bouncer at an exclusive club, checking IDs and only letting in that officially approved games with Nintendo's stamp of approval. But Camerica and Codemasters weren't about to let Nintendo gatekeep their fun, so their cartridges came with a sneaky little trick, a physical switch on the cartridge itself, and here's how it worked. The 10NES chip in the NES console constantly sends a security handshake signal to the cartridge, and if the cartridge doesn't respond correctly, the console just won't run the game.
Oh, come on, just tell me your code already. What is it?
I am not giving you my code.
So Camerica's cartridge included its own custom chip to mimic or to bypass this handshake. But here's the clever part, this physical switch let the players toggle between two modes to make the cartridge compatible with different NES hardware regions. When you flick this little switch, the cartridge would change how it responded to the NES security checks, fooling this lockout chip into thinking it was a legit copy. It's kind of like the cartridge was saying, oh hey Nintendo, we are playing by your rules, but with a little secret I'm not telling you. This hardware hack was a genius workaround. No software patch or patch cables needed, just a tiny little switch. A bit of clever engineering and boom, unlicensed games running on a lockdown system. Camerica's unlicensed carts brought us some classics like the Ultimate Stuntman, Micro Machines, yes, the tiny cars that became a very big deal, Big Nose the Caveman who somehow got a game before dinosaurs could say no, and Firehawk, which is basically NES's answers to what if Top Gun had even less chill. And the best part, Camerica didn't even care that Nintendo was fuming. They just kept the games coming like the Deadpool of the game publishers, cheeky, chaotic, and 100% uninvited. So next time you pop in the Ultimate Stuntman on your Evercade, know this, you're playing a piece of rebellious retro history, courtesy of the Canadian company that flipped the script, flicked the switch, and kicked open the NES front door. The Ultimate Stuntman didn't just bend the rules, it smashed the rulebook and tossed it out the window. One of the most fascinating things about this game, it didn't even know what genre it wanted to be. Was it a racing game, a platformer, a shooter, a boss rush? The answer, it was all of the above. In an era when most games stuck to a single style, the Ultimate Stuntman threw caution to the wind and said, why not have it all? You start off tearing through traffic in a high-speed chase. Then suddenly, you're scaling a towering cliff with nothing but your fists and nerves of steel. Next thing you know, you're blasting giant androids with laser and dodging bombs like a pro. It's like the game designers were juggling all of their favorite ideas and decided, hey, let's just cram every adrenaline-pumping stunt we love into one bloody good cartridge. This genre mashing is part of the game's charm. It keeps you guessing and constantly readapting. But it also means it didn't fit neatly onto any store shelf or in any gaming category. It's a wild, genre-bending roller coaster of 8-bit action, and honestly, that's why it still stands out decades later. The Ultimate Stuntman isn't just a game, it's an experience that refuses to be boxed in. Let's take a look at the story. Alright, buckle up because the Ultimate Stuntman isn't just a game, it's a full-blown pixelated action movie jammed into a rebellious unlicensed cartridge. Think stunts, explosions, sci-fi villains, and more power than a 90s shampoo commercial. You play as the Ultimate Stuntman, a man with no time for nonsense, no brakes on his car, and definitely no regard for gravity. He's part daredevil, part one-man army, and all business, baby. The mission, save Jenny Aykroyd, daughter of the city's mayor, who's been kidnapped by the sinister Dr. Evil. And yes, that's really his name. Dr. Evil isn't just twirling his mustache, he's building an army of giant androids to take over the world. It's up to you to chase him down across 8 intense stages, each filled with 4 distinct levels, packed with high-speed chases, death-defying climbs, explosive boss battles, and even a few brain-bending bomb-defusal puzzles. First, you'll be tearing through the streets in a car chase that would make Vin Diesel cry.
I live my life a quarter mile at a time. Nothing else matters.
Then you're platforming and collecting keys, dodging traps and cracking skulls. Next, climbing buildings like a pixelated Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible. And let's not forget soaring through the air with a hang glider, blasting baddies in classic shoot-'em-up style. All of this builds towards face-offs with Dr. Evil's ridiculous and ridiculously awesome robot minions, culminating in a final showdown that screams straight to VHS blockbuster. Oh, and if you ever played this back in the game, you had better bring your A game. There was no saving, no checkpoints, and no mercy. You either beat this game in one go, or you started back at square one. Just like a stuntman's life. It's all or nothing. So if you're ready to punch androids, rescue Jenny Aykroyd, and outwit Dr. Evil himself,
This is... You know, you're like a child. Talking, if you just one time.
all while riding motorbikes, climbing towers, and defusing bombs, Then saddle up, because this isn't just a game, it's the ultimate stuntman, and you're the star. Let's take a look at the sound. From the moment you hit start, the ultimate stuntman grabs you by the ears with a soundtrack that screams 80s action movie meets arcade madness. The music is fast-paced, energetic, and packed with catchy tunes that keep your adrenaline pumping as you race through car chases, climb skyscrapers, and blast giant androids. The chiptune melodies are a mix of heroic fanfares and funky beats, almost like the game's way of saying, you're about to pull off something crazy, you better get pumped. Sound effects are punchy and satisfying, with tires screeching and explosions bursting with pixelated fury. It's a symphony of chaos that perfectly matches the frantic gameplay. One of the coolest audio features is how the sound changes dramatically between the levels, from tense and dramatic during the bomb-defusing puzzles to high-energy tunes during boss battles with those giant robots. It really helps set the mood and keeps the experience fresh. Sure, it's very 8-bit and sometimes the sounds can get repetitive if you play for too long, but it's pure retro nostalgia wrapped in a frantic package. The exact composer for the Ultimate Stuntman isn't officially credited, which is pretty common for many games from that era, especially unlicensed ones. However, it's widely believed that Alistair Brimble, a well-known UK game music composer, may have created the soundtrack or at least contributed to it. He was known for his work on various Codemaster titles around that time, turning simple sound chips into memorable tunes. So while there's no definitive confirmation, fans often credit Alistair Brimble as the musical mind behind the game's catchy and energetic soundtrack. So while you're blasting through levels or sneaking through puzzles, the sound in the Ultimate Stuntman pulls you right into that pixelated world, making every stunt feel bigger, louder, and way more exciting. Let's take a look at the gameplay. One of the coolest things about the Ultimate Stuntman is how it refuses to be just one kind of game. Instead, it's like a wild cocktail of gameplay styles, each level serving up a fresh dose of action and challenge. Let's break down this madness into 6 portions. So 1, you've got your high-speed chases. This game kicks off with you zooming through busy streets, dodging traffic and blowing up enemy vehicles. These sections feel like you're starring in an 80s action movie car chase, complete with screeching tires and explosions everywhere. The controls here are tight but demanding. One wrong move and it's game over. And it's not just cars, you need to do this from the air as well as you hang glide your way through the level. 2, you've got your platforming. In these sections, you navigate tricky terrain, jump between ledges and avoid traps. But it's not just about hopping around in between blasting the enemies, who are relentless by the way. You also need to collect keys hidden throughout the levels. Once collected all the keys, you can exit at the end of the level. So you have to explore carefully while staying alert to enemies and hazards. It's classic platforming with a bit of treasure hunting thrown in for good measure. 3, you've got your shoot 'em up sections. In these parts, you take to the skies on a hang glider, blasting enemies and dodging incoming fire. It's a fast-paced shoot 'em up style level where your reflexes are key to your survival. The hang glider adds a cool twist, letting you glide over hazards while taking on foes from above. These sections break up those ground action with some airborne chaos, keeping the gameplay fresh and exciting. 4, you've got your climbing. Next, you scale skyscrapers and mountain terrains, shooting enemies and avoiding hazards as you climb. These levels test your timing and precision. It's a classic platformer vibe, but amped up with the pressure of enemies constantly coming after you. It's like Cliffhanger on steroids. 5, you've got your boss battles with the giant androids themselves. And when it's time to face the big bads, you go toe to toe with giant robots that look like they walked out of a cheesy sci-fi flick. These boss fights mix shooting, dodging, and pattern memorization, making them intense but satisfying climaxes to each of the levels. And then lastly, You've got 6, your bomb-defusing puzzles. Yes, these ones are a bit of a surprising twist. In these sections, things slow down a little and it makes you think fast under a time limit. It's a neat change of pace that challenges your brain and not just your reflexes. And apart from these bomb-defusing levels, each one is packed with enemies, obstacles, and hazards that require quick reflexes and sharp thinking. Despite the game's retro pixel art style, the variety in design and pacing keeps it feeling fresh and engaging. Now, I paid $125.73 for this cart because it's a legacy cart. But we can't say that I paid that much because this has 17 games on it and we're only reviewing the Ultimate Stuntman today. So that means we need to say that I paid $7.40, meaning for me to get my $10 per hour equivalent money, I'll need to play and complete this game in more than 45 minutes. And I can successfully say I achieved this, completing the game in 3 hours and 52 minutes, which is a massive bargain in my books. I had a play count of 2, a load count of a whopping 977, and a save count of 183. That's pretty big also. And now it's time for my review on the Ultimate Stuntman. Don't yell, cut. So I give the story a 4 out of 10. Let's be honest, the Ultimate Stuntman story is basically an excuse to throw you into a blender of action scenes and shout, good luck. So yes, there's some sort of story here. There's Jenny Aykroyd, the mayor's daughter who's been kidnapped, and yes, there's Dr. Evil, a villain so generically named it sounds like he missed out on a Bond movie audition. And yes, there's the Ultimate Stuntman, a man with no backstory, no dialogue, and absolutely no time to explain his career shift from Hollywood stunt double to full-time robot puncher. But beyond that, nada, zilch, zero depth. Why has Dr. Evil unleashed an army of killer androids? Is he mad at the mayor for cutting the science budget? Was he snubbed at the robotics convention? Or did someone just steal his parking spot? I guess we'll never know, and the game doesn't tell you. It just drops you into level 1 like, here's a car, chase someone. Now stop, climb this building full pace. Now defuse the bomb or else we're all going to die. And now fight this random, giant, massive, tall robot. It's like an action movie that starts at the explosion and never bothers to explain why the building blew up in the first place. And look, we get it. It's a NES game from the 1990s, and most of the story probably couldn't even fit in the manual, let alone the cartridge, but even by retro standards, this story is a bit, well, light on, really. Still, credit where credit's due, the plot does give us an excuse to rescue a damsel, battle ridiculous bosses, and live out every kid's dream of being a one-man action machine. And sometimes, that's all you need. So while it won't win any awards for narrative depth, it will make you feel like you're starring in the world's most chaotic VHS 80s action flick. And that's okay, because those movies didn't have much of a plot either. Let's take a look at the sound. So I give the sound of the Ultimate Stuntman a 7 out of 10. You know what? I really enjoyed it. The soundtrack in the Ultimate Stuntman isn't just background noise, it's part of the chaos and part of the charm and part of why it feels like you're starring in an 8-bit action movie. From the moment the game kicks off, the music grabs you by the ears and says, we're doing this with no breaks. And each track is packed with frantic energy, catchy hooks, and that unmistakable NES vibe that makes everything feel way more dramatic than it should. What were the highlights for me? That boss battle theme, a pulse-pounding synth-powered face-off that had me air drumming while getting smacked by a giant robot. And the car chase music absolutely sells the illusion that you're in a high-speed pursuit, even though you're dodging pixel trucks at 15 frames per second. And that bomb-defusing tune somehow manages to scream intense suspense while sounding like a Game Boy doing Morse code. It works, it really does work. Sure, the music loops, but it repeats itself with confidence, and it's not whispering in the background, it is crashing through the wall on a dirt bike yelling, "Are you ready for another round yet?" By that 4th loop, you're not even annoyed anymore and you're kind of impressed. You might even start pretending you're in a montage scene where you're the stuntman in training to punch a robot into orbit. It's not just looping, it's looping with purpose. It's the musical equivalent of duct tape. Simple, unrelenting, and weirdly reliable. As for the sound effects, pure retro joy. Guns go pew, explosions go kablamo, and robots explode like microwaves full of fireworks. It's all wonderfully crunchy, perfectly chaotic, and totally fitting for a game where you're hang gliding into a building just to punch an android in its goddamn robotic face. And considering this is an unlicensed game, the sound design is surprisingly full and confident. It doesn't just try to sound epic, it believes it's epic, and that belief is very much contagious. The sound isn't flawless, but it's bursting with personality, it's energetic, memorable, and genuinely fun. Just like the game itself. If this soundtrack was a person, I would probably high-five them, then dive through a window onto a moving truck. Let's look at the gameplay. So I give the gameplay a 9 out of 10. Why so high? Because honestly, this game had no right to be this varied and this much fun. The Ultimate Stuntman is basically 6 games in one, and somehow none of them feel like filler. You're thrown headfirst into car chases, platforming, climbing, bomb defusing, puzzles, hang gliding shootouts, and boss battles with giant robots. It's like the developers said, why pick a genre when you can just have all of them? Every stage shifts the pace in a completely new way. One minute you're swerving between trucks at breakneck speed, and the next you're scaling a building with goons flying at your head like angry ducks. Then suddenly you're staring down a time bomb like it's your year 12 exam and you forgot how to study. And let's talk about those bomb defusing sections. I started off very confident with them, but as I progressed, the timer got tighter and my stress levels went through the roof.
I think I can do this. I can do this, please.
He's our best shot.
I was no longer thinking, I was reacting pure panic mode, fingers moving like I was trying to hack into the Matrix while my computer started sweating back at me. Let's just say it was less Mission Impossible and more Mission Probably Not. I was crouched on the floor like a discount James Bond, sweating buckets and whispering, I didn't train for this. It was chaotic, tense, and totally addictive. And let's face it, it's probably where a lot of my load states came from. The platforming levels also had me collecting keys while dodging spikes and enemies, a great mix of exploration and danger. The climbing stages made me feel like I was scaling the side of an exploding office tower in an old school Die Hard sequel, and the hang gliding shoot 'em up bits just pure arcade joy. And those boss battles, ridiculous and awesome, and every robot felt like it came from a late night sci-fi movie, and they hit hard. But here's the thing, despite all the gameplay changes, it all feels tight and consistent. The controls responded well and the difficulty ramped up smoothly, and you always feel like you're just one mistake away from disaster, which is exactly what you want in an adrenaline-fueled retro romp. And this is why it scores so high. The gameplay is bold, bonkers, and bursting with variety. It keeps you on your toes and throws curveballs that you never saw coming, and somehow it all works. You'll stress, you'll sweat, and you'll probably swear, and then you'll hit start and do it all again. Because this isn't just a game, it's a stuntman's proving ground. And by the end, you'll feel like you earned the title to the game, The Ultimate Stuntman. Overall, I give The Ultimate Stuntman a solid 7 out of 10. From the moment you hit start, the game grabs you by the collar and says, get ready for a wild ride. It's packed with energy and practically jumps out of the cartridge and slaps you right in the face in the best way possible. Every level feels like a pulse-pounding scene from an action movie, with the music cranking up the tension and the gameplay throwing new challenges at you just when you think you've got a handle on things. What really hooked me was how the Ultimate Stuntman managed to keep all the adrenaline flowing from start to finish. It's not just a run and jump platformer or a straightforward shooter, it's a mashup of everything you love about retro games wrapped up in a crazy package. You're racing cars one minute, climbing skyscrapers the next, then frantically trying to defuse bombs before the timer hits 0. And just when you catch your breath, boom, you're gliding through the air again, blasting enemies all from above. The difficulty curve, it definitely kicks up towards the end. Those final levels are no joke, and the timer speeds up, those enemies get nastier, and every moment demands razor-sharp reflexes. I found myself sweating bullets, heart racing, fingers flying over the buttons, and occasionally shouting at my screen like I was in the front row seat of a live-action stunt show. Despite the tough challenges, the game never feels unfair. It's challenging but rewarding at the same time. The kind of game where you learn from every failure and feel that sweat rush of victory when you finally nail a tough section. Sure, the story might be light on details and some of the music loops a little more than I'd personally like, but those small quirks don't take away from the overall experience. And what really matters is that this game delivers fun, excitement, and variety in spades. If you're looking for a retro game that's bursting with character, packed with diverse gameplay, and keeps you on the edge of your seat right up until that final explosion, then the Ultimate Stuntman is definitely worth your time if you're ready to buckle up, grab your controller, and prepare for one heck of an action-packed adventure. Thank you so much for watching another deep dive Evercade completion review. As always, give me a like, subscribe, or comment down below because I love to hear what you guys have to say about the games I love to play. As always, stay odd, stay awesome, and we'll catch you next time on another episode of The Odd Socks. See you later, guys.
Woo!